We've all played a Pokemon game at least once in our life. We've all seen how a yellow creature, looking like some sort of overgrown mouse with a thunderbolt as a tail, journeyed alongside a 10-year-old boy. Everyone has a favorite Pokemon, whether it's the mainstream Pikachu or the incredibly powerful sea serpent named Gyarados. We all have one of those so-called Pokemon as a favorite. You may prefer Pokemon of Legends, Pokemon that can withstand any sort of attack, or Pokemon that can beat their opponent in a blink of an eye. But Pokemon isn't all about fighting. You have contests too, where you show off your Pokemon's grace and beauty. Some may even prefer to just play with some of the cuter Pokemon, like Hoppip. But all good comes to an end. The once cute and cuddly companions would suddenly shine in a white light before changing appearance. A very cute Execute would transform into a larger, goofier Executor. The cute Bulbasaur would transform into the great Venusaur. Gone is the cuddliness. Maybe you didn't want him to be cuddly. Maybe Venusaur is your favorite Pokemon. Maybe you desperately tried to turn your Bulbasaur into a Venusaur. These are all severe transformations. Sweet Pokemon can turn into giant fighting machines just because you love them, or for some other stupid reason. It seems evolution truly is in our nature. Yet, when they evolve, it is not only their appearance that changes. Their personality, behavior, and way of thinking is suddenly altered to fit the needs of their new look. Your friendly neighborhood Charmander suddenly turns into an extremely hot-headed and stubborn Charmeleon. You can't control it. You can no longer play outside or cuddle with it. After all those days, weeks, months, or years, you stare upon your Pokemon, not even knowing if it is your playmate anymore. No, Charmander is no longer there. You have lost a friend. Most Pokemon undergo such transformations, but not all of them grow stubborn and hot-headed like your Charmeleon. You have a Poliwhirl, a fierce, loyal friend that always stands by your side. Yet, when it evolves, it may turn into a Politoed. A Politoed is one of the happiest Pokemon out there. It is a smaller, green, and happy version of your previous Poliwhirl. Depending on your view on your Pokemon, one could truly doubt the meaning of the word evolution. This is a case of forced evolution. A Poliwhirl will only evolve if it is traded while holding a King's Rock. If the Pokemon doesn't want to evolve, it will simply toss away the item, and your Poliwhirl will stay as it is. But for some, it isn't as simple. Namely, evolution-inducing stones. We all know that Pokemon-ish embodiment of man's best friend, the dog, named Growlithe. Growlithe is a Pokemon that can only be evolved by contact with a Firestone. Upon evolving, it turns into a majestic and prideful Arcanine. You are oh so proud. How your small, silly Growlithe turned into one of the most awesome Pokemon in existence. But have we forgotten how powerful these beings are? shooting flames from their mouths, hypnotizing others into a deep sleep, or simply slicing them up with a simple chop or a blade-like limb. Pokemon are gruesome. Would you dare think that in any of these Pokemon games, not a single murder, accident, or other sad act was committed by those beings we call our friends? The mighty Ursaring is known for terrorizing people in the forest. What possibly restrains it from rampaging through the nearest town? We all underestimate our Pokemon, make them battle, make them goof off, or just make them colorful with all of our daily life things. Have you ever considered your Pokemon's opinion? They are living creatures, and you mold them into what you want them to be. They could kill you before you know it. That cute girl that you just evolved into an Arcanine, did it want to evolve? If it did, good for you. If it didn't, it could burn you alive where you're standing. That silly cute Pikachu, watch as it runs 10,000 volts through your body as you collapse into a certain death. The scary Gyarados? Don't get me started on this one. Upon evolving, Pokemon change appearance and grow more powerful. But the one thing that could be so mind-destroying, the most important of all that we have forgotten, is they no longer are who they used to be. Well, of course, some choose to change. But what about those that are happy with themselves? Your Growlithe was so happy, it could sit on top of your head and fetch the ball for you, jumping on top of you as you played tug of war to get the ball back. You put a firestone on its head and watch as it transforms. The small Growlithe, barely able to lick your knees, is suddenly 3 heads bigger than you. It accepts the change, knowing you still love it. It can no longer sit in your head, so it already has to deal with that. But then you start sitting on its back. Suddenly, the whole world is reversed. Arcanine puts up with it, not wanting to disappoint you. But then you get to play in its favorite game, Fetch. You throw the ball and it runs after it. It grabs it and runs back to you, forgetting it evolved. It knocks you over as it tries to jump into your arms. You fall on your back, little as you are. You start crying. Your dad rushes to help you, carries you in, and looks at Arcanine in anger as he closes the door. Your Arcanine is left outside all alone. And why? Because he pounced you? No. You made him the way he is. Once you're recovered, you go outside once more. Your Arcanine is happy to see you and slowly walks up to you. In fear of what might happen, you cower, you scream, you run. Your dad comes back, scolds your Pokemon, and kicks it out of the house. Your stupid pride and greed has taken your best friend. Arcanine is alone, tired, and one day it will see why. You wake up, you smell smoke. It's winter, yet you're sweating because it's too damn hot in your room. You attempt to open your eyes, but you're too tired. Suddenly, someone picks you up. It's your dad. He runs with you through the hallway, through the kitchen. You're outside. Nobody here except you and your dad. He tells you to stay where you are. He runs back into the house, and you can tell because you hear the floor squeaking with every step he takes. You shake your head. You're still warm, very warm. You hear drywood snapping, more snaps. It's getting warmer. You can't take the heat anymore, but Daddy told you to stay put. Mommy isn't here. Daddy left. Moments before it collapses, you open your eyes, and the first thing you want to know, the first thing you wonder about, is why your house is burning down. This is one of a few examples, but one Pokemon is destined to the most twisted fate of them all. Which Pokemon that is? Eevee. Yes, Eevee. Whilst your Charmander and Growlithe were somehow always a little proud and hot-headed, only to see those features even more enhanced upon evolution, Eevee is a totally different story. Eevee is special. While some Pokemon have a branched evolution, meaning they can turn into two different beings, for example Gloom or Poliwhirl, it's always a certain aspect that is being enhanced or reduced. When Poliwhirl becomes a Poliwrath, its fighting spirit is enhanced, but when it turns into a Politoed, its jolliness truly shines. Yet, Pokemon come in so many different personalities, just like humans. Eevee is the one to suffer the most from the human intrusion into Pokemon evolution. Eevee racks up a total of 7 evolutions. The proud Flareon, the relaxed Vaporeon, the hasty Jolteon, the calm Espeon, the cool Umbreon, the gracious Leafeon, and the loyal Glaceon. Every Eevee has the opportunity to turn into one of these 7 creatures, but which one do the trainers choose? You can force your calm, laid-back, and mostly timid Eevee into transforming into an always hyper and active Jolteon. How does your Pokemon feel? Tell you what, it feels horrible. How would you feel when somebody does that to you and squashes your entire mindset and molds it into something they feel is more fit for their own purposes? Eevee's mind is completely and utterly obliterated upon evolving. When you throw a fire, water, or thunderstorm on them, take them out for a simple walk with the intention of evolving them into a psychic or dark type, or sneakily take them into a forest or an icy mountain path, just so you can lay your eyes on the majestic color your Eevee suddenly takes. Its mind becomes twisted and warped. While some retain their personalities, many do not. Eevee has the most, out of all Pokemon, chance to go insane. The drastic mental changes force the Eevee into a whole new mindset, but upon evolution, only one question remains to be answered. Was I not good enough? The Pokemon you have been with for so long, you suddenly force it to undergo a change it doesn't want to, and there is nothing it can do about it. Your newly evolved Eevee becomes sad, desperate, and unwilling to live. How could it suddenly keep up to your expectations now? It has no idea how to act in its new form. Should it keep its fierce nature that it once had? Or should it calm down now that its skin is blue and it has randomly received fish fins? Its head is filled with question marks. It breaks down and it can't handle it anymore. What did it do wrong before you forced it to change? Why can't we be happy like we used to be? Your Pokemon hates itself, and one night, you can't seem to find your prized Umbreon anywhere. You wake up to find your Umbreon missing. You check your bag, all your items on the ground. but your escape rope is missing. You walk around, calling out to your Umbreon. You think you see a dim light in the distance, 5 lights to be exact, but they start fading until you can't see them anymore. You walk back to camp, your Umbreon's still missing, but you can't seem to get the sight of those lights out of your head. For you, this was the good part of the story. You lost a friend, but you're still alive, right? Now, let's say you take your Eevee to the forest. You really love Leafeons, and now you can get one of your own. But your Pokemon doesn't know that. He keeps biting your pants, and looks up at you confused. Why did you have to randomly go to Eternal Forest without any reason at all? A Bidoof attacks, but since you trained your Eevee well, it easily handles the little animal. Then it happens. Your Eevee lights up and grows leaves instead of ears. It is devastated. Why did you do this? It's shivering, it doesn't understand. Was it the fur? Wasn't I tall enough? Didn't you like me cuddling up to you? You cheer and jump, because you suddenly have your favorite Pokemon. Your Leafeon looks up to you, frightened. It cries out, but you can't tell if it's angry or sad. Oh, Leafeon, you look so much better now. Your Pokemon snaps. So you wouldn't love me when I was still small? Overcome with grief, how you used it. It uses its newly attained leaves to use its newly learned attacks. Leaf Blade. You fall backwards, blood gushing out of your throat. Your vision blurs, and the last thing you see is the angry look on your Pokemon's face. What's that? You'll never evolve another Pokemon? May I tell you that you have been playing for years? You have evolved Pokemon, forced them either by using stones or only taking them out for a walk, while leaving your others to rot while your favorite undergoes a forced evolution that might not even want. You are sick. You have molded a living thing into an object of your own sick obsession of having them fight others that have probably been treated in the exact same way. Pokemon must be the least violent creatures of all. You force them to fight. It gets hurt. The only thing you do is take it to the random pig-haired nurse and do it all over again. It doesn't complain. It loves you. And if that isn't enough, you make it evolve. You actually get happy at the thought of your cute little swine transforming into a massive Mamoswine. I hope you'll think about what you've done, for I am guilty of doing the exact same thing. I have only opened my old Pokemon Red save before writing this, but something is telling me to warn you all. My 6 first Pokemon weren't truly angry, but that is because they all evolved by level. I do not know what has become of the other games I used to play. I will see to them. At this moment, I have opened my Pokemon Silver game. I seem to have 12 Pokemon in my party. My first 6, and the ones I had in Red. They look angrier than when they were still in the first gen. I can feel an eerie air hanging around in my room. It is 2 p.m., yet I can see nothing but darkness when I look outside. Furthermore, my door is locked, the only light being that of my computer and my DS on my bed. I check back regularly. I feel as if something is watching me, reaching out for me. My DS closed down, battery ran out, yet it turned itself back on. While my Silver game was still in place, my Ruby game loaded instead. I have 18 Pokemon now. They look furious. The air is getting thicker, the walls seem to close in, and I think I see eyes outside now. I swore I felt a hand on my shoulder when I picked up my handheld console. I'm hearing whispers. They sound familiar, but I can't place them. They sound like cries. I'm frightened. Every object in my room, except this computer and my DS, have disappeared. My room's definitely gotten smaller after I looked up from seeing the ruby enter screen, and I still have soul silver, diamond, and white to go through.